Hi, I'm Streaky. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to EQ sub bass. Let's get into it. So here we are inside of FabFilter Pro Q3. This is what I'm going to use to show you, but you can use any EQ that you have. Now I've got this set up so that it's at 3 dB. You can see it's quite zoomed in. That's because when you're working with a stereo mix, you don't have to do massive high changes as in like 5 dB steps or 10 dB steps. I'm working in say 1 dB, 2 dB max steps. So that's why I have it on that resolution. So let me just show you the first thing to do to tighten up the bass. So I've got a track from my assistant again. So let's have a listen to the bass, and I'll try not to talk as much so that you can hear exactly what's going on. If you just listen to the subs, that's what we're EQing. Listen to those, the low end. And maybe on headphones is a better thing to listen on if you're in a room that doesn't play it back as well. You can take me down, I'll take you. So it's a little bit wobbly in the low end. What we want to try and do is tighten that up so that we get the kicks and everything sounding a lot clearer and a lot tighter. So the first thing that I do is put a low cut on. So if I click that, we have a low cut, and I have that on about 18. So I always boost that up a touch as well. So I'm cutting very low here, I'm cutting at 13 Hertz. And that's just to get rid of any kind of really noisy rumble that's going on at the bottom. And what this also does later on is, if you're putting any kind of limiting across, it just helps the limiter out without having any kind of noise that's not registering. So we have that there. Okay, so that's tightened up a little bit. Let's go in and out. Okay, the next thing to do is I want to grab that low end. So if I put this EQ make this into a dynamic EQ, and I want to, let's just turn this one off for a second so you can see what I'm doing. So I want this in a, again, this is a shelf, so a low shelf, and I'm bringing this down by about 2 dB. So you can see as it kicks in, it's not taking EQ away until the kick comes in. But what this does, it just gets it really tight and punchy. So let me just bring the track back and I'll play you what I'm doing. So I want to bring this crossover point up to about 50 Hertz. And like I say, I'm bringing this down. You can see around here it's at -2 dB, so I'm only taking that amount off. Although it says here that I'm at -1, by the time the curve goes down it's kind of at -2, so you can see that visually though, can't you there? But if you're using a different EQ then you can try that. So let's just put this low cut back on, then you can see what's happening. Looks kind of cool, but all it's doing is cutting, and then it's like this section round here between say 10 Hertz and 50 Hertz is just moving dynamically with the stuff that's going on in the sub bass. I'll stop talking so you can hear what I'm doing. Other trick you can do is add a little bit of low, so you can move this Q on here, wrong one, to do a similar effect that I'm doing on that one, but it just changes the way that works. So this just gives it a little bass boost before it, so that's lifting it around, it's not a lot, it's like half a dB, it's a third of a dB even. But it just by moving the tilt on that, it actually is lifting all the frequencies up to around the 200. So you're getting a little lift in the bass that's also moving. So it's making the whole bottom end move in the right timing, and then you'll hear the result. Let me just stop that and preview again.
You can take me down.
I'll take you.
Love can take you down.
Start again. Sorry about that.
I'll take you. Love can take you down.
And if it's too much, you can always lift that up. Depends on how much really low subs you've got going on. It's still adding a bit, look, and it's also adding a bit here, but it's just making the bass move around. It sounds really nice and tight. Is you could bring in another EQ here, another thing, put this in the sides only, put that as another shelf. What that's doing then is just monoing the low end with that bit of EQ, so let's put that like that. So then we're monoing the subs with that side EQ. Then normal EQ is keeping it punchy. And then we've got this doing a little cut. So I can also then make this so it's just doing it in the mids. This is all getting a little bit more advanced. You can hear what's happening when I So you're just getting a lot of detail in those subs by doing those 3 EQ moves. So let me just round up what I did here. So first one, I've just got a low pass going in the stereo, so that's just doing everything in low pass. The next one is a low shelf that's in the sides only, so that's monoing the bass around those frequencies in the sub. Then I've got the mid, so it's just doing the center channel, but you can have that on the stereo as well. It depends on, all of this depends on listening and working out whether that's something that needs to be done on the stereo or the mid, but you just got to use your ears on that. And so what I'm doing here is I've got this in as a dynamic EQ, and this is pulled down a little bit, so it's just pumping the low end down a touch in the subs. And I've just moved that curve of the cue so that it's just lifting it a little bit as well above that frequency range, so that we're getting a little bass bump, and also there's a little bass bump going on here too. So we're kind of lifting and we're getting the bass moving at the same time. So it looks complicated, it kind of sounds a bit complicated, but it is only 3 EQ moves all put together, and that's tightening up the low end. I'll just play you out so you can hear how that's working. So that's how I EQ sub bass sometimes if it needs it. So make sure you use your ears. Now I'm coming up to 30,000 subscribers. When I hit 30,000 subscribers, I will be giving something very special away. So if you aren't a subscriber, and I know that 70% of the people that watch these videos aren't subscribers, so if you've forgotten, please hit the subscribe button, and that means that you'll be notified when I'm giving away that big prize. I hope you've enjoyed this. Make sure you like the video too. That really helps me out with the algorithm on YouTube. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.